Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and we have got a very special video. This is That BS Guy. By the way, BS stands for Bariatric Surgery. I don't know if anybody got that. I thought it was clever when I made the channel, but whatever. Anyways, welcome to That BS Guy, your one-stop shop for anything and everything bariatric surgery related. Today's video is going to be specifically about regrets and top things that I would give suggestions when you have bariatric surgery. So let's get to any regrets that there are that I have currently. Now, please note I am right around week 13, and I started at 378 pounds and I'm down to 290 pounds. So I can tell you right now, it's going to be really hard for me to have a regret at this point, because that drop in weight is so dramatic, and please note, it doesn't just happen. You have to actually work at it. And please watch my series videos if you haven't seen those yet, because those kind of go into more detail on that, so I'm not going to talk about those here. Anyways, as far as regrets, I will tell you that probably the number one regret that I have is the missing food aspect. You know, and it's not even a big regret. It's more like I miss it, but I don't want it, if that makes sense. So, for example, I was sitting with some buddies of mine this last Friday, and one of them ordered a quesadilla that I used to really love to purchase when I would go out a lot. And I was watching him like take half of the piece, like the slice of quesadilla, and just jam it in his mouth, chew it up, swallow it, and be good with it. And I'm just like, oh, I remember when I could do that. Like, because you can't eat big, you can't eat fast like that. Like, you take a big bite like that, you're gonna have a very uncomfortable time, whether you have the VSG or the bypass or the duodenal switch or even the band. Those big bites, not happening. Should not be doing that. That is bad time for everybody. So, but I was watching him and I was like, man, he just looked really content and really enjoyable. But I knew that that's not me. I mean, like, that kind of behavior blew me up to begin with. You know, not to mention that even after that, he ordered another chicken bowl to eat, because he never had dinner. I mean, to me, maybe a slice and a half of that quesadilla would have filled me up and then some. Okay, so that number one regret would be, you know, the ability to eat, you know, to really enjoy your food. Number two, drinking while eating. You take for granted so much when you eat something like salty, or you eat something that, you know, kind of dries your mouth a little bit, and then you look at your water glass right there and you can't touch it. You just can't touch it because you're not supposed to eat. You're not supposed to drink 30 minutes before you eat and 30 minutes after you eat. You have to be completely dry during that portion. And let me tell you, it's hard. It is so hard. It's probably the hardest thing, besides the all liquid diets that you have to be on when you get into when you have a bariatric surgery. It is by far the most difficult thing that I have to do socially, and it is still a struggle. Okay, I'll be pushing the limit on the back side of it a little bit. Like, I'll go into like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And I'll start to take small sips, because by that time I'm really, really thirsty and I really want something to drink. But you can't always do that. So, and then the third regret, and this is the last regret that I really, really have, is, you know, a stable bathroom schedule. It is, now you don't go to the bathroom that often because of how much you eat, and depending on what surgery you had, if you have the duodenal switch or the bypass or something like that, that's going to look a little different. But the bathroom scheduling can be a little weird, because, you know, particularly if you have a malabsorptive type of surgery like the bypass or the duodenal switch, there will be times where you will eat something and then all of a sudden it'll be time to go. And I think part of that is because with those surgeries, a lot of times they remove your gallbladder, because there's a propensity to get gallstones if they leave it in. So I had my gallbladder removed prior to my surgery for other reasons, and that bathroom issue became something that I got kind of used to it, but it is very quick. You don't have like, you don't get to eat and then be like, okay, la 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 la. And I know it's like, get done eating, 2 minutes later, okay, it's game time. So that would be something that I do miss, but I'm not really sure if that's 100% on the bariatric side. But I will say that it's not terrible. Okay, is it manageable? Absolutely. You just gotta anticipate what you're eating and be in a position that where if you need to go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom. And it's not every time either, which that's the tricky part. Like it's not like every meal and all of a sudden you have to go. It's sometimes, and but I will say this: what I did learn is that you're gonna have a really big urge to go, but if you resist it for like a minute or two, it will usually subside to the point of where you can control when you go and take control of that aspect. Not saying that it's healthy or not, and I don't suggest doing that as the norm, but if you're not in the position to do that, then obviously you got to take control of it somehow. All right, and then as far as my tips, so some of these tips are going to be before surgery and then during and then after. Okay, so when you're planning on having your surgery, okay, if you are planning on having your surgery and pay for it privately, okay, do your research on on the type of company you want to go through. If you're going to do it in America, in the United States, fine. There's a lot of reputable companies that you can go through, and some even have some financial assistance. I went through Mexico Bariatric Center down in Tijuana, and a lot of people are like, Tijuana, what? Oh no, that's scary. It is what it is. But I mean, to me, it's when they do it, this is all they do, right? And if there was a problem, they would not be in business anymore. So I mean, I researched it, but I will say I'm not going to just sit here and advocate for one company. I will say this: if you are planning on going anywhere else that you have the option to, research. That is the thing. That is my number one tip. You need to research what the company you're going through, their history has been. Look at reviews, look at people who've had the surgery with them, success rates, look at their actual surgeons, see who their surgeons are. It's very, 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 very important because we're talking about, potentially your life, right? Because there's some horror stories out there, and I can tell you right now, whenever you go under the knife for any surgery, there's always an inherent risk from some kind of minor complication all the way to death. Okay, so we are trying, if you're at the point of where you're trying to have a bariatric surgery, we are trying to put a cork in our death meter for a bit, because if you maintain that weight, you're not going to live as long as people who are healthier. I mean, it's just a sad state of it. We have a higher propensity to get diseases and all this other stuff. Obesity it kicks your butt, man. So, but anyways, research. Okay. Number 2, for the tips, pre-operation diet, follow it. Okay. Particularly once you get to your all liquid stage, do not mess around with that, because here's why. What that diet is supposed to do is not because you want to lose weight. Now, it's a little bit different when you go through the stages in the United States, because they do like 6 months of classes or whatever, and then you're supposed to drop a certain amount of weight. I think that's just more like an insurance thing. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you go through another company like what I did, and they give you a 6-week plan to follow beforehand, you should follow as best as you can. Now, I really only followed it for about 2.5 to 3 weeks, but the most important is the liquid phase, and also following the probiotics and the metamucils and things like that to make sure that you're only intaking the things that you need, because what this does is it shrinks your liver, because they do need to lift up your liver laparoscopically to work with your intestines and sometimes your stomach. So if you're having a more invasive surgery like the bypass or the duodenal switch, it's extremely imperative that you're following those plans to a T and making sure that you're setting yourself up and helping your surgeon out by shrinking that liver. Okay. People tell horror stories of people trying to eat stuff at the hotel before their surgery date, things like that, and the hotel knows who's doing what because they report to the hospitals, and it costs a lot of money to delay some of these surgeries. And for those of you lucky enough to have insurance that covered it, kudos, great, good job. But for those of you looking at these videos and saying, okay, I'm looking at options, you know, there's not a ton of options besides spending your own money, and the amount and where, that can be up to you, but that's my advice. So research those companies, and also follow your free diet plan. And then lastly, and surely not least, do not jump the gun post-surgery with anything. That goes for exercise, that goes for alcohol, and that goes for food selection, okay? I know so many people that have pushed the food selection, probably the easiest. Oh, I think I can eat that, you know, that banana, or I think I can eat that cracker, or I think I can eat that cookie, or that piece of chocolate, or whatever. And like my friend who had that piece of chicken, I think 3 weeks after her surgery, she threw it back up and she was in pain, like serious pain for a while. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is a rhyme and reason why you have to go through these stages. And does it suck? Absolutely it sucks. It is not a fun thing to do. But I will tell you that it's important that you do follow these things, because if you don't, you're going to set yourself up to tear some linings or some staples, or you know, you're healing. Like if your wounds are not even healed or closed on the outside, they're not closed really on the inside, really. Only thing keeping them is the staples. So just be mindful that, you know, you have to heal internally and externally, and that also goes with physical activity. If you're trying to lift weights, you know, or even for me, I had to be really careful when I was traveling, because I had to have suitcases and I had to lift them up and down and all this kind of other stuff. And so I would have people help me do that, even though I'm a big dude, and it was kind of embarrassing. But, you know, I knew that if I turned one way a certain direction, or if I jolted myself in a certain direction I wasn't healed, I could pop a staple and have, you know, juices inside me, and then that can cause some infection. Like it can be a really big deal. So make sure you follow the process through, okay? Whether it be food, exercise, and then lastly, alcohol. I started experimenting with alcohol right around week 8.5, 9-ish. There's a video for that if you want to take a look at it. And it's still a journey. Like the more weight I lose, the faster alcohol, you know, gets to me. And is it a little cheaper of endeavor? Yes, but my alcohol ability and limits quite diminished. So make sure that if you do go that direction, that you don't first drink alcohol in public. Test it at home with like a friend, see what your tolerance is, and then you can start to venture out and figure out where you fit in the spectrum based on the bartender, okay? I don't suggest getting drunk. That can always be bad for anybody, but I mean, this is your life. You still gotta enjoy yourself. I get it. But just know that at least temporarily, you need to put some of that stuff on the back burner, because it's not gonna be conducive to help you start your weight loss journey. So there you have it. 3 regrets, 3 suggestions, how-tos, or best practices that I put together for you guys. Feel free to post below or add any questions or whatever it may be. And if you haven't already, please feel free to give this video a like and subscribe if you thought it was neat or at least entertaining at all. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. You all have a good one. Thanks. Bye-bye.